Hi, welcome. I'm Pam Raleigh, Acquisitions Editor for Bardsy's Anthology. I want to welcome Asia Follensbee as our December 2025 Fall Anthology Winner for Bloom Despite. Thank you for being here today. And we're very excited that you have won our contest.
Very excited. So thank you.
Absolutely. So congratulations again. It was exciting to read your first chapter. You know, the things we look for in a first chapter is, you know, a sense of the story world, a sense of the characters, seeing that there's something at stake for the characters, some energy, some direction. And you provided all that. You kind of showed us where the story is going to go. And that captivates the reader so that you're going to click on your sample. Hopefully, if you were putting this on Amazon, they would click buy and you'd be on your way. But I was looking at your bio. I saw that you work in finance and that you also have 2 children on the spectrum and that you're a long distance runner. So how did you get your inspiration for the Woven Vine series? I read that this is the first in a planned trilogy. So where did the inspiration come from and where did you get the time to do it?
I am a heavy reader, not as much since I have been devoting a lot of my time to Bloom Despite. But I think as a lover of literature, I wanted to create something that has all the things that I love that made me become that avid reader, but also avoided maybe the things that, things that I'm a little critical of. And so for me, with all of the demands that I have externally, internally, writing was an escape. It allowed me, I replaced it with, I canceled a few subscription services for the last 2 years, and I was doing that instead of Netflix, instead of Amazon Prime, instead of streaming. I kind of started creating my own world and my own literature experience. And so it definitely comes from just wanting to create the kind of things that used to keep me up at night as, I guess, like a child and a teenager. It was like a lot of escape, but also just with all the chaos, all the noise around me, this was something that I felt completely in control.
So how long have you been working on Bloom Despite?
So it bloomed, no pun intended, around COVID. That's when I first started having the ideas to put it into paper. And then when I was no longer working remote, I had to kind of shift priorities and go back to the real world. And so it took a hold, but it kind of just kept niggling at me for like the last 5 years. And I knew that this was something that I wanted to devote some time to for the last 18 months. So I got really serious for the last year and a half, but it's been in there since 2020.
Wow. Now, do you have outlines for the other 2 books ready, or you just know that you want 3 out of it, or what?
Rough. So I outlined Bloom Despite pretty rigid around a year ago. I wanted to know exactly where I was going once I knew I had the momentum. And then I think as we're coming to the spot where I'm closing, I'm only 2 chapters out from finishing it, my first draft.
Oh,
so I'm really excited. So I really want to throw myself into editing, and I think that that's when I'm going to build the full storyboard for the other 2 as well. But I have some pretty strong feelings about where I want to go.
Oh, right. So you mentioned earlier that you started to you used this story to start to create the stories that you felt you were missing, the things you loved when you were reading as a child. So what is I don't want to say what is your favorite part about your book, but what do you hope readers get from your story?
Well, I have a lot of favorites, so cut me off if I get going. Okay. But with having differently abled children, I'm really excited for the representation. I didn't get to introduce this character in my first chapter, but we have someone who has a communication difference, who is a main character or protagonist that travels with us throughout the entire story. And I think I modeled, not in a literal sense, but after my children's experiences, and the best way to kind of integrate them into different environments is to kind of make it a non-issue, but also recognize them. So I think you'll be introduced to a character who is diverse and a little bit different than something that I see in mainstream media. And then I also, my second favorite thing is that I kind of play with dissonance. So you'll see that in chapter 1 that is presented through Bardsy. You have a character who is light and fluffy, and sometimes those characters can come off as less fierce and less strong. And I love to play with those polarizations, and I do a lot of that. And
oh, I love that. So you're going to turn some stereotypes on their heads, maybe?
Absolutely. No
I
spoilers,
love
but
that.
I am.
I love that. So what are your goals for this book? What do you hope from this book? Are you seeking traditional publishing, self-publishing?
I definitely would love to see it travel a traditional route, but I understand that is a bit like hitting the lottery, and sometimes, you know, it happens for you and sometimes it doesn't. But I would think that because I would like it to reach so many people, I think the work is rather impactful. Traditional is my preference, and I'm hoping that Bardsy is a good kickoff in kind of explaining how that process could go.
Well, you know, that's true. Traditional is a great route. I had a book come out traditionally published in August. We have several other Bardsy staff and our writing members who have published traditionally. One just got a 2-book deal. She had a literary agent and she just got a 2-book deal. And then some self-published. But, you know, that's one thing that Bardsy is known for, is we help you meet your career goals. So while we're at this point, I do want to tell you that I'd love to invite you to come to one of our elite groups, which is directed writing groups. I'd love you to be our guest for one time to see what you think about it. We provide feedback on different chapters you'll submit, all geared towards making your writing absolutely the best it can be, so that you can hit those publication goals. So if you're interested in that, I would love to I'll have Ava reach out and talk to you about some times and those kinds of things, and see if you'd like to come check it out. It might be a great way for you to get, you said you're almost done with the first draft.
Mhm.
It might be a great way to prepare for your revisions, and also to make sure that you've hit everything that you said you wanted to hit, that character is really resonating. I love the idea that you just said you're creating a character that you haven't seen much of in literature, and maybe modeled somewhat after your children or one of your children. So we want to make sure that you're hitting the messages, that character is coming through strongly for you. So I would love to invite you. You have the draw.
I'd be honored.
Great.
Yes, I would love.
That's wonderful. Good. Now, I'm curious about your long distance running, in that do you use that time for your writing? Like, do you think about the writing? How does that running help your writing, or does it?
Absolutely. I think when I read a lot, I'm definitely drawn to those kind of both fantasy and then dystopian novels, also sci-fi, and they require a lot of like body movement, and there's a lot of action. And so I think anytime that I can imitate what these characters might be actually experiencing, it only makes my writing that much more authentic. So when I'm running, when I'm feeling the elements on my hair, like my face, and when I am running, like, and I allow myself to, I guess, run untethered and run, a lot of times we're running for pacing, but sometimes you just want to sprint in the way like you're actually being pursued by something. And that just only aids with inspiration, sometimes even just running in the rain and things, and just getting into those situations that your characters actually might be experiencing, which is hard when you live in a city.
I read you're you live in Kentucky, correct?
Mhm.
So you're in a larger city, Louisville,
Yes.
or one of the, okay.
Lexington, the second largest.
Lexington, gotcha. Okay, yeah. Oh boy, I had a question right when you were talking and I forgot it. I hate when that happens.
Okay, it'll come back.
It will come back at some point. But when you mentioned earlier, you'd like to be traditionally published.
Mhm.
Are you hoping for a literary agent, or are you hoping, like, what is your experience, or what is your knowledge with publication? What are you seeking?
I will say that, and this is just being fully transparent, that I'm rather green to this process. Every word I write is something I never thought that I would be able to do before. So I'm finishing it, but I do think I see a literary agent in my future, and I want like a heavy hand with an editor, someone who I've had really positive experiences with Bardsy, and then I have worked with Celeste a little bit this week, and I love that back and forth and being able to have fresh eyes that see not only in a marketable sense, but that my ideas are translating. And I had such a positive experience. So I definitely can see traditional literary agent in my future, but I'm open.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, I think you said something really important, which is you had the back and forth relationship. You saw that a little bit with Celeste, because that's certainly going to be critical for your book at any stage, is to be able to stay true to your writing, but at the same time take direction as necessary. So that's great. What books, have you read any books that inspired you to write, or do you have a background in writing at all that made this become something that you're hoping to move from hobby maybe to career down the road?
I always dream of a career. I think really it was high school and a little bit of undergrad is when I was a little bit more devoted to writing than I have been for the last, I guess, 5 years. So I did journalism and newspaper and then creative writing, which gave me kind of like a sense of my own voice and what I like and dislike. But I think what I'm learning in the last like couple years is how to respect the rules and also break them, and to try find my own voice. But I loved The Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler. One of my favorites. I think that kind of introduced me to a character who looked like me, who was in kind of the circumstances that the kind of books I wanted to read growing up. And I just wanted to expand that genre and do it in my own way. So
It sounds like you have a lot of thought behind your writing, why you write. I'm not sure when you write with your busy schedule, but
not a lot of sleep.
But it does sound like you have a good handle on what you want out of this process. What advice might you give to somebody who's new to writing? Because you said you are fairly green. So is there any advice, any one piece of advice you think might be most important to someone starting out, or maybe even someone who finds themselves stuck?
I would say two. You need to be a lover of the arts. So I think not just, yes, you should be reading. I think that is not only because you want to support what could be your colleagues and people in the same field as you, but also just to learn what they're doing that is successful, what makes this, whether it is you're reading this and thinking it's genius, or whether you're just like, well, something about it is captivating me and I can't put it up. I had one of those recently. So I think it's definitely, that's the first, is just to be a lover of the arts and to look for it everywhere. And then one of the things that I have loved about Bardsy is getting those emails. And Celeste, she finishes them out at the bottom and she says, try and write 20 minutes every day. And I took that as like a challenge, because I have so many demands and things. And I'm like, you know what? I can sit 20 minutes and either map out my ideas or sit in front of the keyboard and just see what comes to me. And I think just blocking out some time is pretty non-negotiable for success.
That sounds like great advice to me too. That's fantastic. You have a lot of phenomenal qualities that we admire here at Bardsy, and our members and the people we invite to come to our groups have those same qualities, some drive, some determination, and more importantly, the ability to take and give critiques in a positive way. So I'm really excited that you entered this contest. I'm excited that you win. I really liked the character of Renly. I think what I know about her at the beginning is it's very interesting that you introduced her having grown up with Thatch, and she seems like she has so much potential, and that's one of the things I liked about this chapter is you've sort of opened her up, but she could go anywhere. You haven't pigeonholed her in any one pathway, and I think that's one of the things I loved a lot about this particular entry, and I'm really excited that you're a winner.
Bardsy delivers the tools, guidance, and support you need to produce compelling novels. Our well-researched and thoroughly tested approach includes our minimum complete story, a 90-second exercise that keeps your writing on track while fueling creativity, Bardsy Publishability Index, a 23-dimension checklist that offers attainable goals and provides actionable feedback, and our brand new comprehensive character developer that helps you construct unforgettable characters. Come see for yourself at Bardsy.com today. Try our workshop or enter our first chapter contest. Then, when you're ready, Elite Membership delivers writing groups, personal coaching, and a curated community. With Bardsy, your work will captivate everyone, from agents to publishers, and, most importantly, your readers.